Since I got my Marshall Jubilee, I've been running it pretty much how everybody else runs it, but I learned something the other day that made me completely rethink how I'm using this amazing amp. Hi, I'm Steve. Welcome to my studio. I've had my Marshall Jubilee 2555X for 7 or 8 months now and been really happy with the sounds I'm getting from it. In fact, I even made a ToneX Capture for my friend Pete Evick, and he's been using it on all his gigs with the Bret Michaels band, and he loves it. Up till now, I've been using it as a 2-channel amp, set up so that the clean and lead channels are relatively balanced, allowing me to switch between the 2 channels as I need, and it sounds great. I've got the amp set, as you see here, basically a variation of the everything on 7 method, with the presence rolled back just a little bit so it's not quite as bright. I generally don't go much above this on the gain, because like a lot of Marshalls, it tends to get a bit flabby the higher you go. So I've got a crystal clean sound and a nice crunchy overdrive sound, and they both sound really good. But when I'm playing clean, unless it's something that absolutely needs to be a crystal clean part, I generally tend to prefer what I'd get playing through a semi-cranked Fender with a little bit of drive there to kind of smooth off the top end and kind of fill in the nooks and crannies. So I don't really need a super clean sound. If you're enjoying this video and you like this kind of stuff, please consider subscribing and hitting that like button. You wouldn't believe what a difference it makes. Thank you. So I ran across a forum posting that gives Joe Bonamassa's settings for his Jubilees. What stood out to me was that he sets the master volume to 10, that's the Marshall way, and uses the lead volume to adjust the actual volume level. Now, Joe plays on some big stages, and he's known for being pretty loud. Most of us can't get away with that. Still, I had to try it. So I dialed the master volume up to 10 and slowly rolled up the lead volume until the actual output level was roughly what it was in the last examples. I didn't touch the presence, the tone controls, or the gain, and this is what I got. Wow. At its core, it almost sounds the same. It's just better. Everything seems to gel a little better. It's more powerful, more tone. Now, I like this sound a lot, but I'd like to smooth it out a little bit. So I'm going to employ a little trick I use fairly often here in my studio. I have a Boss GE7 EQ. 800 hertz is boosted about a decibel, and 200 hertz is pulled down a decibel or two. Also, I've got an Xotic EP Booster with the knob all the way down, and the internal dip switches are set to add no gain. Let's take a before and after listen. To me, that kind of smooths things out, and it kind of pulls down the problem area in the low mids. Now, even with the two pedals, it's still incredibly touch sensitive, even when I roll off the volume. I think what's happening here is when the master's cranked, the signal's hitting the phase inverter tube a little bit harder, which in actuality is what's responsible for that sweet drive we get when we crank up an old school Plexi style amp, causing it to compress and saturate a bit. And it seems like when the guitar's volume is rolled back, that compression eases up a little bit, allowing more of the signal to get to the power tubes. Yeah? Now, to me, it sounds downright incredible. It's nice and crunchy and fat, great sustain and single note sound and feel. It's got that old school feel that made Marshall what it is. But it's still got just enough of its own personality to be its own thing. Now, there is a downside of running the Jubilee this way, and that's with the master volume on 10, you're basically using it as a one-channel amp. I mean, you could use the clean channel, but with the master cranked to 10 like this, it's going to be loud. Really loud. Like cranked Marshall Plexi loud. And like a cranked Plexi, it's not going to be 100% clean. In fact, it might even be a little bit crunchy. Yeah, I got to try it. Okay, so I've switched over to the clean channel. The master is on 10. I brought up the lead channel volume so that it roughly matches what the clean channel volume is going to be. Let's check this out. Also, I've switched over to my Bogner 412 that's loaded with Celestion Vintage 30s. I did this because the other cab I was using is loaded with Celestion G12 EVH speakers, which are basically 20-watt greenbacks, and pushing a 100-watt amp at the master all the way on 10, I don't want to blow them. Okay, that seems fairly low gain, so I'm going to try bringing the gain up a little bit just to see what we got. Now, that's sort of got that old Marshall vibe, but not to the extent of like my Baby Plexi or even my vintage Modern. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and use this as a one-channel amp because it sounds great with the master on 10 and the lead volume on 2. Also, as is the case with most Marshalls, if you need more drive, just kick on an overdrive pedal and it sounds great. So I'm pretty much losing the option of using the clean channel on my Jubilee. But for my use case here in my studio, I've got a few Fenders. I've got a great sounding clean channel on my vintage Modern, on my Splon. So I'm not hurting for clean sounds. And if I do want that particular sound, I'll just reach over and turn the knobs. Do you play through a Jubilee? How do you set up your gain structure? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.